Hey YouTubers, I have a project I have not worked on before. This is an old Ford 555 backhoe that we got from an auction a few years ago. I have not had to do any work to it to this point because I don't use it very much. But I was trying to dig out an old stump that we'd been burning out the other day, and my bucket would no longer curl, and then I noticed hydraulic fluid shooting everywhere, so I popped a hose. And sorry, I've already taken them off. I will try to video putting them back on, but just to let you know what I had to do. These two center lines apparently go to the bucket. I've used paint markers whenever I label things so that I remember which tubes go where. I went ahead and took this one off as well. Haven't even checked to see what that goes to, probably to the extension. But anyway, the hose going to that one had some bald spots, so I figured since I got this all apart, I'll go ahead and do it. Just to let you know what I started with, I went ahead and took this clamp off here just because it gave me a little bit of flex between these to get a wrench on the connectors, because otherwise I couldn't get my wrench on the connectors between the two hoses. So I took that one off. There were actually four, I believe, I had to take off. There was one there. There was one down underneath here, which I don't even think I can get down there that far. But down in there, there was another clamp that held the hoses together. And then there was one going right across there vertically. And it seems like there was another, maybe there were only three, but either way, I took off all the clamps I came across so that the hoses would move more loosely. Then of course you have to connect the other end where it connects to the manifold. You can see those two are the ones I disconnected for the bucket, and then over there between those other hoses is the one I disconnected that had a bald spot on it. So I'm gonna go get some new hoses made to replace them. But the way I got to these to get these hoses off, just so you know, there was no way I was going to get that bottom one off without taking the top one off first. You can see my paint mark up there. But the top one had to come off, otherwise you can't get a wrench in there, and you can barely get a wrench in there and move it as it is. So you're going to have to take the top hose off, best I can figure, to even get to the bottom one if you need to replace the bottom one. Also, to access them from the top, I took this cover off up here where my levers are. I took that cover off so I could put my wrenches down in through there. And what I used were crescent wrenches. I tried adjustable wrenches and stuff, but I ended up using crescent wrenches, and the ones I used were the 1 1/4, 1 1/16, and 1 1/8 were the three I needed. And then I needed a few different sizes to take those clamps off of the hoses to move them around. And so now I've got my hoses off. They're over here on the ground. There's three of them. They appear to be identical in length and connectors and everything. So I'm going to go see if I can get those three made at TFE. They have made some stuff for me before on the RV and do a pretty good job, and they seem fairly quick and reasonably priced. And so that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to get that and some new hydraulic fluid. Oh, hydraulic fluid. When you go to refill the hydraulic fluid, the reservoir is up here behind the grill. The access point is underneath this cover. Mine, as you can see, is missing its cap, which it's been like that since I bought it. This thing, I bought it, like I said, at an auction, knowing that it had some different minor issues. It was leaking fluid up here for the power steering, so I just have to add power steering fluid every now and then to make sure it works. I could fix the leak, but I haven't gone through that trouble since, I guess, I don't use it that much. My control panel, at some point somebody replaced this. There's no gauges or anything that actually work, but it runs decent, and the hydraulics work really good when the hoses aren't popped. So I'm on my way to take care of that problem. Be back later to put it together. One more thing while I'm at it, just to let you know, since I had very little movement, one of the things I used was this big piece of pipe that I put over my wrenches, a cheater bar, and I also used this long pole that I put through the closed end of the wrench and just kind of wedged it between some metal and pried. That's how I did to get one of them, because I just had no movement. I couldn't even use the cheater bar because it didn't stick up high enough on that lower one. They're really on there tight, so you gotta just be creative and try to figure out a way to get some sort of cheater on there to break it free. But once it breaks free, it comes off really easy. You can just unscrew it by hand. One thing I didn't mention earlier is that I took this particular connector out of the manifold up here because it was on the top, and to get a wrench on that bottom connector to hold it in place while I unhooked the hose, I needed to get this one out of the way. So I just went ahead and kind of wiped some of the ick off of this one, and I'm going to reinstall that one after I put that bottom hose back on. So now I'm getting ready to, I got my hoses from the hydraulic hose place and TFE. They did them within probably a couple hours or less, and they ended up being about $80 a hose. So I was a little shocked at the price, but it had to be done. So I had 3 hoses I'm having replaced. So now I'm going to go ahead and hook this one, bottom one up, and then I'll put this connector in and into that other hole at the top and put the top hose on, and then I have one more over there that I will be hooking up. Here are my new hoses that I picked up just a little bit ago. Like I said, a very quick turnaround on those, and they are all set to go. I just have them draped over the arm here. Here it is over the other side, but they have the all new connectors and everything, so we're ready to go. The reason I have these baggies over these lines is I just saw in another YouTuber's video, if you're gonna be walking it away from it for a while, just to keep some contaminants out, to just kind of cover them in baggies. So that's what I did. I disconnected one of those last night, so just wanted to make sure nothing was going to crawl in there, or leaves or dirt or anything flying there. So, but now I'm getting ready to reconnect, so here I go. I'm going to just screw this one on here. I've got it snaked down back through there and up over here, and I will just reconnect both ends where I marked with my paint markers which one goes where, and so it'll be good. So I just finished tightening this one on here with the wrench on this outer side here, and I ran it, snaked it around the way the rest of them go. Up here to the manifold, goes right here. This is the one that goes to the extender, retracting of the arm. I've got it hand tightened now. I'll need to put my wrench down through the top. Let's see, I need that 1 1/4. Where did I put my 1 1/4? Here it is. I actually have to take this, put it down through here, move that one out of the way. You can see the new one down there. Try and get this on there, and then I will tighten that down, and we'll be done with that hose, and I'll go on to my next 2. One thing I will say about trying to loosen and tighten these bolts on the manifold is that it is really hard to get between the different hoses and get your wrench on them, because this wrench is so thick. If you were to flatten out, like put this on the grinder and flatten these out a little bit, it would probably make the job a lot easier. I don't know if it would lose too much strength, at least in the breaking free part. It'd probably be fine for tightening. But one thing I did do that actually worked was I had a sink wrench, a faucet wrench for under the sink, and I actually was able to get a grip on that, and just to help break one of them loose, so that helped as well. So like I said, you got to just get creative on what works. Still trying to make sure this one's snug, and I'm having trouble getting a bite on it. I went underneath when it was still fairly easy to turn, and was able to just kind of put the points of the wrench on there and turn it, and then come back up to the top and give it a real twist. But now I'm at a point where I can't do that, so I've got to figure out how to make sure this is tight. Okay, so I've resorted back to my pipe wrench, and this actually works, or faucet wrench I guess it is. See, I get a grip around the nut, I can get that down between them, and then I can push, and I can make sure I get a good snug grip, and that is working. Let me see if I can see it from underneath without me dropping it. Yeah, there it is. So I've actually got that around the nut, and it's just big enough. It's almost too small, but it fits and it works. So that's my new tool for doing this. All right, guys, check this out. This is a truly magical tool, this faucet wrench. I wasn't able to get to it from the top because there wasn't enough room to move, but I came in here underneath because the head turns 90 degrees, so you can do faucets, and then you have this piece at the end. So if you don't do plumbing, you might want to run out. This is actually a pretty cheap tool. I actually don't need them for faucets much anymore. They're usually designed differently, but look at that. Grabs it and turns it. Very easy to go back, grab it again, turn it. This has been the miracle tool for this job. So if anyone cares, I would highly recommend a faucet wrench for these hoses. This is making all the difference in the world. Okay, we got 2 down and 1 to go. This one I have to put the connector back in first. You can see I've got the bottom hose in there. I got that other top hose in. And I've just got this one last one that goes on the top of the manifold there. And then all I'll have left to do is to put my connectors back on. And I'm probably gonna wait. I gotta go make dinner. Right after I get this last hose on, I'm gonna go inside and make dinner. My husband should be home from work soon. And then I'll probably come back out and put the connectors on and bleed the system. By the way, bleeding the system, the manual says basically just turn the tractor on and work the controls for the hydraulics for about 15 minutes, and that will bleed the system. Of course, first make sure you fill the reservoir with hydraulic fluid. And I bought 5 gallons of that at Rural King earlier. It was a little bit cheaper than buying it at the hydraulic place, so that's what I'm gonna do. All right, I'm back. I've got all my lines replaced. There's my my reservoir, which is missing a cap, has been since I bought the machine, but that's where I put my hydraulic oil, and that's at the very front of the tractor. And then you can see that covers right up there at the front. And then my lines back here, my hoses. Put my cover back on over my controls there. Oh, I didn't push my rubber thingy back down. I need to push that back down into place. But there. Anyway, I have my 4 new lines now. There was one thing I didn't put back. I put my clamps back on. I put this clamp, and there's one down here. There's one more up underneath here. I put those 3 back on, but when I came to this one, there's a bar that goes here, and trying to get these all lined back up and get that back on there was such a pain in the butt, and I wasn't sure how necessary it really was. So if anyone out there can tell me why I would absolutely have to or want to do that, please let me know. But otherwise, I'm not gonna fool with it any longer. I've put 2 days into this already, and I don't have any leaks. Everything's working good. I worked the controls to get the lines bled, and I've been using it to haul wood, to burn out some stumps, and dirt to smooth out over a stump that we'd already burnt out. So everything's working great, and I'm really happy with my 3 new hoses I replaced. The reason I didn't replace the 4th one is this one was already obviously much newer than the rest, so that's why I just replaced the other 3 and not all 4 while I was in there. Like I said, it cost about a little over $80 after tax each for the lines, and then I found some hydraulic oil at Rural King that was about 50 bucks that I used. I didn't want to go with the 20 weight stuff because I knew that wasn't really recommended, but I went with the least expensive that I could. The hydraulic place offered to sell me a 5-gallon bucket for 60 bucks, but like I said, 10 bucks is 10 bucks. So anyway, my Ford is functional again, and it's good to go. I hope that helps somebody else out there. Here's the burnt out stump that I filled in with dirt. Then I smoothed it out with the bucket a little, and then I went over it with the dethatcher attachment on the front of my grasshopper mower to kind of smooth it out. Now I gotta go buy some grass seed and some more weed and feed and throw it on there, and I'll grab some straw out of the loft of the barn. And over here is my wood. I grabbed a couple of scoops of branches from our compost pile, or basically all the dead branches where we pile them up, and a couple of big logs we had back there, rotten wood from when these trees came down. So that's what I've been doing with my machine since I fixed it, or what I meant to do before when it broke. Thanks a lot.